Boom. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Welcome to a first impressions of a brand new fragrance release. This one from the house of Mason Margiela. Just a couple days or even a couple weeks ago, they came out with this brand new release, Never Ending Summer, which, as the name would suggest, is going to be their signature kind of fragrance release and focus for these warmer months. As we're now in spring, we're looking ahead to summer 2025. And Mason Margiela, who's kind of made themselves known to make pretty good fragrances across the board, they decided to come out with a brand new summer release. And so we're going to talk about it and review it, and I'll give you my first impressions here in a second. Before I jump in, I would just like to apologize. I've been dealing with some allergies and some things here recently, and so my voice still isn't recuperated back to 100%. And so if I sound a little different, that is probably why. But just bear with me. The content must go on. And let's jump in and let's see how this fragrance is. So we're kind of in a similar predicament as we were with the YSL Le Parfum video. I don't have a full bottle of this yet, and so I cannot give it proper presentation and analysis of what it looks like. And so what I'll do here is I'll pop on the following slide what the bottle looks like, let you see it, and just kind of get a breakdown of it, and then we'll talk about it here in a moment. So here's what the actual bottle and everything looks like. So it's a pretty standard across the line bottle and packaging kind of ordeal that Mason Margiela follows. All of their fragrances kind of have this similar clear bottle with whatever color liquid. And then on the front, it kind of breaks down an actual descriptor of the fragrance. And that's something that no other fragrance house really talks about or does. And so this is on the front here. It's, of course, Never Ending Summer. And it's supposed to smell like the Amalfi Coast in the year 2022. The fragrance description, it's a refreshing bright orange. And, of course, it is memory in a fragrance. Overall, I can't complain too much about the packaging and presentation. Like I said, it's been the standard across the board for Mason Margiela, and they didn't change that up. But I would like to note, the juice in here is very orange colored. That's why I had to kind of break out the orange clothing to commemorate this. But really an orange juice, and obviously that's going to kind of foreshadow a little bit into what the fragrance is going to smell like. But let's just see here. Let's discuss here for a moment how much this thing actually costs. So as of today, mid-April, when I'm filming this video, on Mason Margiela's website, it is $165 USD. And that really is the standard across the board for all of their fragrances on their website and on Sephora's website. I didn't realize this, but whether you wanted Never Ending Summer, whether you wanted Coffee Break, Under the Lemon Trees, Sailing Day, On a Date, By the Fireplace, Autumn Vibes, whatever fragrance you wanted to pick up, it would be $165 from their website. Now, if you're to go to a discounter like Joma Shop, you see some of their fragrances are anywhere between $70 to about $100. This, of course, hasn't hit Joma Shop yet, and I'm sure it will in the next month or so, allowing the price to trickle down some more. But as of right now, you really can't find it a whole lot of places. It's just been announced. It's just starting to get into people's hands. And honestly, not a lot of mainstream fragrance influencers have reviewed this fragrance yet. So I kind of want to get on the gun here. I got a sample online because all their bottles were sold out. I just want to get on here before it really gets into the mainstream public and give my impressions of this fragrance. But $165 for a 100 ml. Unfortunately, this kind of follows the trend of fragrance inflation that we've become used to here recently, where fragrance companies will decrease their bottle size, increase their price, and decrease the quality of the ingredients that they're using. Now, I think the quality here is certainly very, very good, which is refreshing and it's nice to see. But $165 isn't chump change by any means. And it's not a very cheap fragrance. And so that's very unfortunate. But we got to at least share a couple sprays here and see if the smell makes up for the relatively large price tag. So I've sprayed it here on this tester card and let it kind of go through the mid and the opening. And now we're getting into the base. And man, one thing is very clear. From smelling this on a card and even wearing it a couple times, this is a very orange heavy fragrance. I know sometimes, especially in the world of simplified note breakdowns, you kind of get lost in a citrus opening and you're not really sure what citrus that is. Is it an orange? Is it a grapefruit? Is it a lemon or a pineapple? But this is very clear. This is an orange forward heavy fragrance. And this citrus is done in a way that I've not smelled in quite some time. You compare this to something like Afternoon Swim or even Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue Forever, and you get three completely different approaches to how a citrus fragrance can be done. This is a very realistic, natural smelling orange, almost kind of has a bitter orange peel kind of vibe. It's almost like when I smelled the opening of this fragrance, it's like I walked into my kitchen, I took an orange, I cut that orange in open, and I just smelled the orange. And that's exactly what I'm getting here in the opening. Very realistic, very natural, slightly bitter, kind of a pulpier orange. But that's really what is the powerhouse and the star player here as you go from the opening and begin to transition into the mid. This is as orange forward of a fragrance as I've smelled, which makes sense. I mean, in the top, you get a spritz accord, bitter orange, and some pepper. In the mid, you get gray tea, cardamom, and nutmeg. And then in the base, you get vetiver, cedarwood, patchouli, vanilla, balsam, and cashmere. Now, as I've mentioned here, there's really two main players in this fragrance out of all those notes that I just mentioned. It is the bitter orange and the vetiver. I guess if you want to throw in a third, you could say the spritz accord as well. And so that really leaves us with a spritz accord, an orange, and a vetiver heavy fragrance. As I've said, it's this zingy, bright, fresh, uplifting, energizing, very realistic and natural citrus in the opening with this kind of a spritz, kind of carbonated club soda kind of a feel. It's almost like a carbonated orange to an extent. And then as it dries down, it goes from this carbonated orange, natural smelling fragrance to a much more woodsy, vetiver forward scent. It's a clean, classy, mature vetiver. And it's really quite the stark contrast going from a club soda, orange peel opening to vetiver and woods and vanilla as it dries down. Now, I have heard some people say that the opening of this, especially in like the first hour or so, you kind of get an Aperol spritz cocktail kind of vibe, which I can see. You kind of combine that bitter orange with the club soda. It does kind of have a boozier edge than some summer fragrances would. And if that's not really your cup of tea, I would wear this fragrance maybe an hour before you plan to go out, to where then kind of that cocktail-y vibe kind of dissipates when you go out about an hour into the lifespan of this fragrance. But really natural, really a very realistic and legitimate citrus opening. And then, as I've said, it goes into this vetiver woods dominant fragrance. Not too heavy. Definitely still very appropriate for the summertime, daytime or nighttime. And it's a really nice scent. I have to give it to Mason Margiela. They have done a really good job with this. A lot of people have said they lacked an orange fragrance in their catalog, which I can agree with. They've come out with kind of an oceanic fragrance. They've come out with lemon fragrances, more greener springtime fragrances. And they needed something like this in their line, which they have done through this release. And it's been done very, very well. But very nice summertime fragrance. But I do want to touch on the performance and longevity here for a moment. So as I've said in the opening, I've worn this a couple of times, and I get about 7 hours longevity with several feet of projection in the opening. This certainly isn't a weak or a wimpy summertime fragrance. I wore it mid-afternoon, and it lasted me well into my evening. At around that 7-hour mark, it does start to settle into more of a skin scent, and so just keep that in mind. But the projection for this, especially for as natural and as citrus forward as it is, the projection is there. And I was actually getting several compliments from people that I knew and that I didn't know, especially between hour 1 and hour 3 of wearing this out in public. And so it's a compliment puller. It definitely projects. You don't have to spray this a whole bunch. And this fragrance really doesn't suffer in the same way that something like Afternoon Swim does, where that is so citrus heavy, that is so sugary sweet, that it just dissipates after like 3 or 4 hours and it's a skin scent. I think the vetiver and the woods here really builds a nice base and allows some of the citrus to stay around, but it allows the fragrances to push out on your skin some more and stay for several more hours compared to your average summertime fragrance. And so for a freshie, for something as clean and bright and refreshing as this is, I really do think the performance and the longevity is very solid, and I really don't have any complaints there. And so great job, Mason Margiela. You guys got something that lasts a pretty good amount of time, and you're not going to have a difficult time being noticed when wearing this fragrance. As the name likely suggests, with Never Ending Summer, this is a summertime fragrance. I don't know any other way around that. If you wanted to, I think you could wear it all 4 seasons. But if I'm going to be honest, the vibes of this fragrance is very specific. And I think that really is a summertime fragrance. Daytime or nighttime, I think this really would shine in the evening because this is kind of a going out, very unique, citrus-heavy, orange-heavy fragrance. But you could really wear it anytime. I picture going to the beach. I'm on a vacation. Maybe I'm going out to dinner and then going out on the boardwalk afterwards. This would be a perfect fragrance for that. Definitely would be a great summertime wear, especially if you don't have anything from this house yet, or maybe if you're not a big fan of Under the Lemon Trees or Sailing Day. Something like this could really suit your profile and your taste if you really like orange, natural, realistic smelling fragrances. This isn't synthetic. This isn't unrealistic at all. I mean, this is about as close to a real orange smell as I've got my hands on in quite some time. This is so natural, so realistic. And the bitter kind of orange peel taste is really a nice change of pace from what a lot of fragrance companies are coming out with nowadays. And so, good fragrance. As I've said, it's kind of got this slightly boozy, cocktaily, orange peel vibe. But the vetiver does come in once it gets to the dry down, and it does kind of change up the fragrance a good bit. And so, really all around a good fragrance. I'm glad I got my hands on this. And honestly, this might have to be a full bottle purchase, but let me know down in the comments section below what your thoughts are if you've gotten your hands on this yet, or if you're looking forward to smelling this new fragrance release from Mason Margiela. But that's gonna be all for me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're subscribed because we're on the road to 2.5K subs. You can drop some fragrance video ideas down in the comments section below. A lot more golf videos and everything of that matter is coming out here very soon as the weather's starting to warm up. So stay tuned, and I hope y'all stay safe. Thank you for the support once again. Y'all have a good week, and God bless.